The applause felt distant, like waves crashing somewhere far beyond the glass walls of the ballroom. My name shimmered across the big screen behind the mayor. Olivia Reed, youngest multi-millionaire entrepreneur of Crestview County. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Not because I was nervous, but because I saw them, sitting at table 9. My father, his new wife, and her, Madison. The girl who got the guest house, while I got the couch. Funny how memory sneaks up on you, even when you're wearing a designer gown and heels worth more than your first car. I could almost smell that old house again. The cedar walls, the cheap air freshener, the way the leather couch stuck to my skin in the summer heat. The mayor kept talking, words like inspiration, success, resilience echoing in the background. But my focus stayed locked on them. Their polite smiles. Their frozen surprise. They didn't know. Not yet. They didn't know that the girl they pitted, the one who wasn't good enough for the guest house, now owned half the properties in this town. My phone buzzed softly in my clutch. A text from my assistant. Speech in 2 minutes. Everyone's waiting. I smiled. For years, they made me wait for a room, for approval, for love. Now it was finally their turn. It was the summer before my freshman year of college, the year my father married her. Evelyn. She had a smile like polished marble, cold and perfect, the kind of woman who measured affection in designer handbags and who got headaches whenever real feelings entered a room. They'd just bought that big lake house in Crestview. The kind of place that looked like a magazine cover, stone patio, long driveway, guest house by the water. When Dad called, he said, "Come stay a few weeks, Liv. We'll get to know each other again." I almost believed him. But when I arrived, suitcase in hand, Madison, Evelyn's daughter, was already unpacking in the guest house. A string of fairy lights above her bed, her new iPad glowing with beach playlists. When I asked where I'd be staying, Evelyn smiled without looking up from her glass of Chardonnay. "Oh, honey," she said, "the guest house is for family. You can take the couch in the main living room. It'll be cozy." Cozy. That word stung more than it should have. But I nodded. I always nodded back then. That night, I lay on that leather couch, the air conditioner humming like a distant warning. Every creak in that house reminded me where I stood, an afterthought in my own father's home. Around midnight, I found an old silver pendant in my duffel bag, my mother's. Inside, a tiny folded note she'd written years ago. "You don't need their space to find your place." I remember holding it so tight my fingers went white. By morning, I decided. I left a note on the kitchen counter. "Thanks for the stay. I'll figure things out on my own." Then I walked out, past the glimmering lake, past the guest house lights still glowing from Madison's window. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay where I wasn't wanted. The couch had been their way of putting me in my place. Leaving was mine. Leaving Crestview felt like jumping into a storm barefoot. No plan, no map, no safety net. I took the first bus headed anywhere, ended up in a small town 2 hours away. It smelled like rain and burnt coffee, and for some reason it felt like freedom. I rented a studio the size of a walk-in closet. One window, one rickety desk, a futon that folded into a bed if you begged it nicely. But it was mine. No one could tell me where to sleep anymore. During the day, I waited tables at a diner off Highway 9. At night, I studied. Marketing, design, online business, anything I could find on free webinars or YouTube. I'd balance plates and memorize algorithms between customers. One night, a woman named Margaret Lewis came in, sharp blazer, silver hair, laptop open even as she ate pie. She was one of those women who carried success quietly, like perfume. She noticed my sketchpad lying beside the cash register, filled with logo ideas and random brand concepts. "You do these?" she asked. I nodded, embarrassed. "Just practice." She smiled. "They're good. Real good. Ever thought of doing this for real?" That question changed everything. Margaret owned a boutique marketing firm, small, female-led, built from scratch. She offered me an internship. Unpaid at first, but I didn't care. She taught me how to pitch, how to handle clients, how to make people see value where others saw risk. For the first time, someone believed in me without conditions. Years blurred into growth. I launched my own small digital agency, Reed Creative Solutions, from that same one-window studio. It started with local shops, then online clients, then brands across states. There were nights I cried on the floor, surrounded by coffee cups and unpaid bills. Nights I nearly quit when a client ghosted me or a deal fell through. But then I'd hold that silver pendant, my mother's words inside. You don't need their space to find your place. That always pushed me through. When the first check with a comma arrived, I didn't tell anyone. Not even Margaret. I just went for a walk under the same kind of night sky that once hung over Crestviews Lake and whispered to myself, this is what my own space feels like. By the time I was 26, Reed Creative had grown into a multi-million-dollar firm serving national clients. But I still kept my life quiet. My social media showed coffee cups, sunsets, and quotes, never the designer office or the Tesla parked outside. Because I wasn't chasing validation anymore. I was building peace. Still, a part of me wondered what they'd say if they ever found out, the ones who gave me the couch. That answer came sooner than I expected. The mayor's gala had always been a big deal in Crestview. Polished suits, string quartet, champagne glasses clinking under chandeliers that cost more than most cars. For years, I'd seen photos of it online, the people who ran this town, the ones who once decided who belonged and who didn't. And now, I was the keynote guest. As my black heels clicked across the marble floor, I felt calm. Not the fragile kind that breaks under a single word, the kind that's built, brick by brick, through every sleepless night and every rejection. My assistant, Brooke, whispered, "They're all here." Even the mayor's office said attendance broke records this year. I nodded, adjusting the diamond clasp on my mother's silver pendant. My armor, disguised as jewelry. When the lights dimmed, the mayor stepped to the podium. "Tonight," he began, "we honor innovation, the dreamers who turn nothing into something. Our next honoree is a true hometown success. Please welcome Olivia Reed, founder and CEO of Reed Creative Solutions, Crestview's youngest multi-millionaire entrepreneur." Applause thundered, but I barely heard it. Because there, table 9, right where I'd seen them earlier, sat my father, Evelyn, and Madison. Dad's face had that stiff smile I knew too well. Evelyn's pearls gleamed like armor. Madison's eyes widened, the color draining as if she'd seen a ghost. I walked to the stage slowly, each step deliberate. Years ago, I had walked out of their house with nothing. Tonight, I was walking toward everything I had built. "Thank you," I began, the microphone catching the steadiness in my voice. This town taught me a lot, mostly about what it means to start with nothing, to sleep on couches, to be told you don't belong, and to find your place anyway. A few people chuckled softly, unaware of the weight behind those words. But Table 9 knew. My company started in a one-room studio. No fancy guest houses, no family trust funds, just long nights and a lot of faith. As I spoke, I watched my father's expression change, confusion melting into recognition, then into something he rarely showed, regret. I continued, "Sometimes, the people closest to you are the first to doubt you. But sometimes, that's exactly what gives you the fire to rise." The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. My father couldn't look away. When the ceremony ended, people swarmed around me. Reporters, local business owners, council members. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw Evelyn whisper something to my father, then motion toward me. He hesitated, then walked over. "Olivia," he began softly, "we're so proud of you." "Really?" I smiled politely. "Are you?" Evelyn joined in, her voice syrupy. "You must come visit the lake house again. We've renovated the guest house, you'd love it." The irony almost made me laugh. Madison stepped forward, fidgeting with her purse. "I've been meaning to call you," she said, her voice uncertain. "You've really made it." I looked at all three of them. Their expensive clothes, their fragile pride, their sudden attempts at affection. And I said quietly, "You know, it's funny. You gave me the couch, but it turned out to be the most valuable real estate of my life. It's where I learned I'd never beg for a place again." Silence. Their faces fell, not from anger, but from realization. I straightened my shoulders, offering a calm smile. Enjoy the gala. There's plenty of room here for everyone. Then I turned toward the exit, lights glittering off the silver pendant resting just over my heart. That was the moment I understood. Success wasn't revenge. It was closure. The following week, the messages began. First from my father. Would love to catch up properly, Liv. Maybe lunch at the marina? Then Evelyn. I'm hosting a fundraiser soon. You'd be a wonderful guest of honor. And finally, Madison, a single text. Can I talk to you? Please. I stared at my phone, remembering the smell of that old couch, the weight of that summer air, the echo of Evelyn's words. The guest house is for family. Now they wanted in. I agreed to meet them, not at the marina, but at my office, the glass-walled headquarters of Reed Creative Solutions. When they arrived, I watched their faces shift. The space said everything: marble floors, abstract art, the hum of quiet success. But the real pride wasn't in the luxury. It was in knowing I'd built it myself. My assistant brought coffee. Evelyn tried to compliment the decor. Madison stayed silent. My father cleared his throat. Olivia, he began, I know things were difficult back then, but I want to make things right. Maybe we could. I held up my hand gently. Dad, before we talk about the past, let's talk about the present. He nodded slowly, unsure. I'm willing to help, I said. But on my terms. Evelyn's smile wavered. Help. I leaned forward. You said the guest house was for family. So, let's start there. Family means accountability. I turned to Madison. You've got potential, Madison. But you've been hiding behind comfort your whole life. If you want my support, job, mentorship, whatever, you'll earn it. Apply for the intern program here. From the bottom up. No shortcuts. Her eyes widened. You'd really let me work here? I'd let you prove you can, I said softly. Then I looked at Evelyn. You taught me something too. That exclusion hurts. If you want me at your fundraisers, then open them to young women who can't afford college. Match every dollar raised with a scholarship fund. If you do that, I'll sponsor the next event. Evelyn blinked, caught between pride and shame. That's generous. It's fair, I replied. Finally, I met my father's eyes. You don't owe me an apology, Dad. But you owe yourself honesty. You chose comfort over connection. All I ask now is show up. Not for me. For you. He swallowed hard, nodding. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was clean, like the air after storm. When they left, Madison hugged me. Quick and uncertain, but real. Evelyn avoided my gaze, but her tone had softened. And Dad, he lingered, his voice low. I'm proud of you, Olivia. Truly proud. I smiled. Took us a long time to get here, huh? He nodded. Worth the wait. As the glass doors closed behind them, I exhaled. Not from relief, but release. I hadn't needed to put them in their place. I'd simply redefined what my place meant. Power wasn't in revenge. It was in setting boundaries with grace. And for the first time in years, I felt at peace. A month after that meeting, I drove down to the lake house. Not out of nostalgia, but because I finally could, without the ache. The place looked smaller now. Not physically, but emotionally. The walls that once felt like barriers now looked like nothing more than painted wood. Madison met me at the driveway. She wore simple jeans, no jewelry this time, and had paint on her fingers. I got the internship, she said, smiling shyly. Started last week. It's harder than I thought. I laughed. Good. It's supposed to be. Inside, Evelyn was hosting a new kind of gathering, young women from town, college applicants, dreamers. She looked tired but softer, greeting each girl like she meant it. When she saw me, she hesitated, then said quietly, We're calling it the Open Door Initiative. Matching donations just like you asked. For the first time, I saw something human in her eyes. Not pride. Not competition. Just understanding. And my father, he was on the porch, fixing a broken step with his sleeves rolled up, humming the same tune he used to sing when I was little. Didn't think I'd see you back here, he said. Didn't think I'd want to. I answered with a small smile. We stood there for a while, watching the sun dip behind the lake. The same lake that once reflected everything I didn't have, now shimmered with everything I'd gained. Before leaving, I walked over to that old couch still sitting in the living room. Faded, cracked, familiar. I ran my fingers along the worn leather and felt a strange warmth instead of pain. From my purse, I pulled out my mother's silver pendant, the one that had carried her words through every storm. I opened it one last time, whispering, "You don't need their space to find your place." Then, I slipped it onto the couch cushion, leaving it behind. Some stories don't need full circles. Some just need closure. As I drove away, the radio played faintly, the wind brushing against my cheek like a blessing. Voice lowers, calm and strong. I used to think success was about proving them wrong. But now I know it's about proving myself right. Because, in the end, she got the guest house, but I got the world.